So now we begin with the panel discussion. We have framed certain questions which the panelists will discuss on. The first question is, what exactly is gender gap? Is it about why men are always the position holder of a specific job, or about questioning on why there is no gender parity to a position? Who would like to go first? Yes, sir.
Okay. We discussed about gender gap in the beginning. This gender gap, if you look at it, the standard definition, it is the gap that comes up in many ways. It could be pay gap, it could be respect gap, it could be responsibility gap. Oh, women cannot do this, only men can do this. You know, things like that. The pre-established mindset, that's why I call it as a mindset. It is set already. You need to change that. So, gender gaps exist. However, these can be changed by changing our thought process, by accepting that change is the only constant. And today, it starts from education. If I see a lot of men and women today. Earlier, law was a prerogative of only men. We could hardly see one or two women. Today, I can see more women than men here. I'm very happy to see that. Tomorrow, I would be happy to see more lawyers actually practicing, arguing in the courts. Tomorrow, I would like to see more judges who are women. Tomorrow, I would like to see more parliamentarians who are women. So this thing will not happen overnight. It comes with starting to believe that you can and continue to do that. Gaps exist everywhere. It is up to us to decide whether we want to fill it up or not.
Thank you, sir. I'll just take it on and particularly follow up with the word that sir just used, mindset, right? So the gender gap, we can give you so many facts and figures and throw you laws and throw you legislations. But where does this mindset begin? The biggest elephant in the room, the word that we've used a little bit today morning, patriarchy. Who's the biggest bearer of patriarchy? Who's the biggest bearer? No, I'm sorry. The biggest myth is that men are the bearers of patriarchy. It begins with women in the household, right? You may say that the hashtag why loiter, safe spaces, Bengaluru safe space women. But isn't it my mother every morning or every night telling me, please come back early, how late are you? She's very empowering for me, right? But we are the ones who start first. And let's begin by acknowledging it. There's no harm in acknowledging that the grain somewhere lies with the social conditioning of not just South Asian societies, even America. My 18-year-old daughter is right now in a college in the US, and she's seeing how narrow-minded the men there can be, right? Also, and how racist they are, the average white American is. But for us in our houses, I know I will not be okay with my daughter going out in a mini skirt and just a tank top at 2 o'clock, not because of what she's wearing, because I know the streets are not safe for her, right? So if you're wearing whatever you want to wear and you're in an auto, it's okay to say it's not the auto wala's job to look at me, right? But the fact is that we have made it like that. So we have to start by addressing this gap first in our own homes and our own houses. So that's my humble plea to everybody. Let's acknowledge that. It's not the male responsibility only.
To add to that, you're saying for daughters wearing mini skirts at all. How many parents will be accepting that their son or daughter brings their boyfriend or girlfriend home?
I just also want to add with this, basically from the growth itself by your parents itself, they say that ladka bacha nahi rota hai. I mean, male child will never cry. So ladki bacha always she will cry. So that changes should start from your growth itself, from within your parents. Tomorrow you will be also married and your children. So I think let's hope with the changes. I think our past generation people will never change. Okay, so already they are molded with that notions and with the kind of that thoughts. So I think we will hope for the future. So we will hope with the youths and youngsters that we will change by teaching kind of this lesson that ladka bhi rota hai, ladki bhi rota hai. हाँ ठीक है.
Yes. Well, I would like to just say that patriarchy will eventually dissipate as time passes, time goes on, because as we get more and more civilized, the concepts such as patriarchy, matriarchy, etc., will eventually merge, and we won't have any, discrimination amongst us. That's all.
So we hope that really happens soon. Yes, definitely 3 cheers for that. Moving on to the next question. Why is gender gap still a topic for debate despite there being a constitutional mandate for the same? And what exactly are the legal loopholes of the system?
I think I can start with that because pretty much my entire presentation was related to that.
Yes, sir.
So now when it comes to the law being ineffective to address this gender gap, I would like to state that this is not just related to gender gap. The laws in India are ineffective related to many things. It's not just about one particular issue. I think it was Cicero who stated that the more laws you have, the more injustice you have. Now in India, we take a lot of efforts when it comes to framing laws. I think Sana here was highlighting this fact when she stated that the lawmakers have absolutely no connect with the people. They sit in the AC chambers, air-conditioned chambers, and they make their own laws, whatever comes to their mind, they do that. But when it comes to putting it into effect, the entire thing, it's a completely different ballgame. And when it comes to the loopholes, the legal loopholes, there are several loopholes that we can identify. But we need to start with the fact that the police itself are ineffectual when it comes to addressing these kind of problems. Because when you face a problem, the first thing you would generally do is you would either approach a police, or if you have access to a lawyer or an NGO, you would go to that. But when the police themselves are not in a position to handle these kind of issues, the loopholes will commence from that point onwards. Okay, so that's one thing that I would like to highlight.
I just want to use one of example here. So we had one of our departments meeting in Karnataka. One of our minister was invited for the meeting, and minister was talking like, how many people know Kannada here? Okay, so he started in Kannada with the conversation. Okay, ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೋಜಾಗಲ್ದು issues ಬಂದಿದೆಯಾ, ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೋಜಾಗಲ್ದು ಇದು ಫೈಲ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ತಂದಿದ್ದೀರಾ? See, that is where being a responsible person, he himself don't know what the law is talking about and what are the judgments which we have been received. He should not supposed to use such words. So this is the gaps. We literally elect and select whoever we want. So that is a problem actually. So we need to think while voting also, it's our responsible, like whom we should need to put our vote and whom need to be selected, and how that person will bring a comprehensive policies to the developments and the changes. And imagine a minister is talking such words and he is not having any ideas of transgender issues and challenges, and he's starting saying, you start with your challenges, you start with your stories. See, we are since 20 years we have been telling stories to different ministers. We literally tell our stories. Tomato, egg, breaking, egg, hoja, come, this, that is a standard story. You should not sit here, you should go sit there, you go sit there, you come sit here, this is women, that is a standard story. But the minister is saying that you start with that story. So how you will develop your next level of developments, what changes you want to see. So it's all about the policy makers whom we are bringing, leaders that we are bringing, and what kind of that we are expecting from that leader. So it's all about the leaders that we need to bring.
Well, we discussed about the Constitution mandate, Article 14. before we get into that, how many of you have heard that India is a developed country? I think from the time I am born, I am hearing this. India is a developing country, right? We are not developed yet. What is the meaning of that word developed? It means, in my opinion, where there is no discrimination based on who you are. You are a woman, you are a man, you are a trans person, doesn't make a difference. All of you stand in one line. To me, that's a developed place. Here, reservations exist. Special line for women, special line for SC/STs, special line for this, special line for that. Right? We are ourselves breaking our own society and creating gaps. If you think about it, women want to be equal to men. Yes? It's a resounding yes or a silent yes?
Resounding yes.
Right? Resounding yes? Then let's abolish Domestic Violence Act so far as it relates to women only. Let us make it gender neutral and say women also should be punished if they harass their husbands. These things are there are loopholes existing in the system which have been created for a particular reason at a particular point of time. Relevance is no longer there. When there is no relevance, having these laws on the books alive, today a judge will say, I'm sorry, but my hands are tied. If the law exists, I have to implement it. I was very surprised that Chief Justice Lalit, a couple of days back, said in a matrimonial suit, where the woman asked for a transfer from one place to place A to place B, the counsels there in the Supreme Court argued a lot, saying that this person is playing the woman card. The Chief Justice of India said, I can't help it. That is the established procedure. We got to follow it. But who else can change the procedure than the Chief Justice of India? Right? If he wants, he has the power to do that. But he did not do it. Again, I'm not saying women should not be given consideration. But if you want equality, stand in the same queue. If you want a separate queue, you will have gender gap like this. How many of us are willing to break that 3-4 queues and stand in one single queue? The day you do that, that is the change of mindset. And that is the day when you can really say that we are from a developing country become a developed country.
So I will get to differ a bit with you on the last point because worldwide there is a need for quota. There is a need for affirmative policy for women. We are not at the, everybody is not at the, you have a race. Everyone's not at the starting point together to run, right? That is why when you have affirmation policies and you have quotas and you have the special line, it's to bring everybody to the starting point of the race. So it's easy to say it. It doesn't really happen in reality, It's good for us to begin with that positive mindset. Let's remember we need to come till there. And that is why you have quotas and affirmative action. With her permission, I'm taking question 2 and 3 together. The third question says, does this challenge to remove gender gap is only the duty of the government judiciary or the mindset of society being the major stakeholder? And I'll address also the legal loopholes in the system. Well, we've all spoken about it. Where does the law be made? In the legislature, right? How many women there? Only 14%. And if you see the proceedings of the legislature in the last couple of years, there has not even been a debate on any law. Without people being present, without any deliberation, laws are being passed. So, laws for women are being passed or made without women participating in it. Won't there be gaps? Of course. Which is why world over in gender studies today, we talk about gender mainstreaming, we talk about gender budgeting. While the men who make the national policies, we have only one female minister, Nirmala Sitharaman, right now. Again, not a cause for us to say that it's economics and lawmaking has become gendered because of one woman holding the portfolio. We do not see or make the laws from the perspective of a woman. You need a woman in the lawmaking system, in the public policy system to say, okay, when you are allocating so many electricity lights in the road, maybe you should put it in that corner where I feel unsafe to walk at dark at night, right? So that is where we need to bring women into the making of the laws, into the making of the policies, and where they are missing at the higher levels. And of course, as Sir said, the mindset today needs to change for all of us. Women's gender is not about women's rights, it's about men's rights too. It's about toxic masculinity, how men are bred to just be the breadwinners, are not allowed to break down and cry or to show their feminine side or to show their vulnerability. It's about all of us accepting that it's a very empowered man like my father, who in a simple middle class family can say my 2 daughters will go out to study and go against his mother and his own wife and empower the women and the girls in his house, like Sir said about his 2 daughters, right? So it begins with each one of us, right here.
So moving on to the 4th question. So do you
Well, regarding the third question, the mindset of the society, in a truly democratic system, the government and the judiciary should reflect the mindset of the society, and the society should truly be represented by them. So when it comes to removing the gender gap, is it the duty of the government or judiciary? Of course, it is the duty, but it's not, as I said, the society's mindset has to change, and that will in turn be reflected by the government. So, end of the day, if it doesn't, if the government were not to, reflect the society's mindset, then I think we have an issue with our internal system itself. That's about it.
Sure, sir.
I just want to add this challenge also. Like I think economical status also will be the one of the major area to see that to close this gender gaps. Because when it comes, I see that when it comes to upper class, I don't see that kind of a gender discriminations. When it comes to middle class and lower class, I mean the people who are very into low communities, I see a lot of discriminations over there. Because they really practice because of the economical status with existing there. So that is also one of the challenging area that we need to focus. I really wonder, like, because I work as an HR in a GE company, I am so surprised, like what people eat money also, or what they get 2 lakh rupees monthly salary. I don't know how they manage so much of money. So I think we should also need to challenge those things also. Like instead of, I also endorse Priyanka's statement that I think challenging within one single line, I think we need a separate different parallel lines, because we can't challenge with the women's group, because women itself, they have lot of hundreds of issues they are fighting for. Still they haven't got anything else so far. Then now you also go stand in the 99 plus 100, you stand in 100, by the time I will die itself. Then what is the use of getting a reservations and giving kind of such laws, and you are not entitled to enjoy those laws and policies, and making a single line and you to stand on that line in 100. It's so difficult. That is also, we need to think of that also.
Very true. Shall I move on to the 5th question? In the recent times, we have seen that many individuals recognized under the LGBTQI plus community have attained recruitments in different sectors. So what is the practical scenario of this community in attaining jobs? And what is your opinion about Indians finding it difficult to accept and respect all genders equally?
I'll take Sana's permission to give my view here.
Yeah, please.
And I really like the question because I have a very simple answer. I'm sorry it will not be possible. And I don't think so she's going to disagree with me. Why? Because gender comes much later. Sir said, yes. I would like to say that I've been hearing that India is a developed country more since our Honorable Prime Minister came to power. Before that, we were using the word developing. Now we use developed a lot more, especially in the last 6 years of the political dispensation. Before gender diversity, we are a deeply racist and a deeply classist society, and we will never come out of it. And we are a deeply religious and a communal society. So that is our primary identity. We relate with gender much later. Are you going to be willing to sit with your driver on the same dining table? Are you going to, we still talk about those untouchabilities and those taboos. So we have to begin by acknowledging that first, those divisions that are still there in our mindset. However rich we become, however modern we become, however educated we become. So let's not put a blind eye on it. Let's not put a beautiful rose-colored glass and pretend that's not the real world. You and I are this elitist group sitting in this air-conditioned classroom in a university, private university. Real India still lives in the villages. And it's a lot more different. So each one of you are the change maker out here, hopefully having listened to us, having thought a bit amongst yourselves, to go out and start making that little change. That's all I have to say.
Recruitment. It's a favorite topic for me. I handled recruitment in various sectors long years ago. In the US, we have something called as Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which means I cannot discriminate who the person is when I'm recruiting. If I place an ad and I get a response, I have to interview everybody and I have to select whoever I need to select, but my reasons for selection should be very clear, specific to the job description. I cannot use my personal feelings, my background, my cultural differences to say, I won't hire a woman, I won't hire a man, I won't hire this, I won't hire that. Our questions were all, we used to train our recruiters. I used to head a team of recruiters. So they were trained to handle questions when in interviews. If we need a person to lift weights and climb up a few stairs, we cannot ask the person, are you handicapped? We cannot ask any question that could suggest that we are discriminating. We cannot ask questions about their genders, including their gender choice. It doesn't matter. We cannot ask, we can only ask questions relating to their qualification, not their age, not whether they are married or not whether they are children or not even with women, whether they are pregnant or not. The only question we can ask is, this job requires you to carry 50 pounds of weight and walk 10 steps up and down daily. Can you do it or not? That's the only question I was asked, that we were allowed to ask. So discrimination starts where if the law ends, if the law cannot address. And as law students, all of you can be change makers. You can either follow the law, or you can take the lead and create a law or change the law. The choice is yours. If you choose to be a change maker, apply your thought practically, do a lot of research, find out how other cultures, how other societies are doing it. We can't constantly be saying that we have problems that we cannot surmount because we have been doing the same thing again and again. Changing a politician, I'm sorry, will not help, because the mindset is the same. The people are the same electorate. A party may change, a leader may change, but the people are the same. Unless we change our way of thinking, unless we change what we have been doing, if we have done the same thing and we continue to do the same thing and expect this different result, we are fools. Right? If we need to get different results, we need to do different things. What are those different things? LGBTQ community, if you look at it, do they deserve a separate queue? I would say yes, because as Dr. Mathur rightly said, affirmative action is required till the time they come to the stage where they can stand shoulder to shoulder and say, okay, now we have arrived. They have not yet come there. And forget about LGBTQ today for a minute. Even women have not come there. Right? So if you look at it, the gender gap exists between men to women and men and women combined as a category to the LGBTQ or the third gender. So disparities exist, law also exists. There's a beautiful law today passed by the Parliament, 2019. That is the the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act 2019. Apparently, it was passed in a hurry because at that time our Honorable Prime Minister had pulled the J&K cut. The 370 thing has been pulled out. That time, without any discussion, this important law was passed.
Yes.
Right? This was not correct. I would say, as rightly Sana pointed out, who are the stakeholders in a transgender bill? The transgenders themselves. Hear them out. Make sure that the standing committees put their thoughts correctly in it and make sure that the law addresses the problems that are faced by the transgender community as such. It is extremely undignified for a law to say that a transgender person has to go in front of a magistrate and get a certificate that the transgender person is a transgender person. From a purely legal point of view, if I look at it, I see a little bit of reason. But as soon as you are born, you are given a birth certificate in which it is written that you are either a male or a female. As you grow, your consciousness grows. You will decide that, hey, my birth gender is A. I don't think I identify myself with my birth gender. I would like to identify myself now with a B. Now, if you say that self-declaration, you can definitely say, okay, I am going to declare myself as a she from today. Please address me as a she. You can say that. But then if you expect to get benefits out of that from the government in terms of reservations, in terms of getting some other benefit, there is a reasonable expectation from the government to say, prove that you are this.
So why
Right?
do you need to prove, sir?
No, that is what I'm saying. That is what is a government expectation.
Why that expectation for not for women and not for other people, and why the
It
expectation?
is absolutely, it is extremely undignified. It is extremely undignified. But there is a reasonable restriction to even Article 19, correct? Is it a reasonable restriction? I am not trained, certified, or qualified to talk about this topic because it requires extensive research and extensive communications with the community. I can only talk at the superficial or a peripheral level. As a lawyer, we defend anyone who comes to us. We talk on behalf of anyone who comes and hires us as an attorney. Is it undignified? Yes. Is it necessary? Not very sure 100% or not. If a man is a man at birth, he will die as a man at birth. There is no dispute about that. If there is a woman who is a woman at birth and dies as a woman at death, there is no dispute at that. It is very crystal clear. There is no change of documentation. But if there is a gender change that is happening because of the choice of the person, and let us be very clear here, we deal with so much of paperwork today. Everything needs proof. As lawyers, it's not what you think or what you believe is important. It is what you can prove in the court that is important. So how do you prove something? We can prove something by, unfortunately, evidence, documentation, etc. It may be undignified, it may be not proper, but there should be some beginning somewhere. There should be some classification. And making sure that this classification, the process becomes easier, and definitely it becomes, the purpose of why it has been created should be and must be implemented. It should not be a means to further harass. I would definitely not support that. It should not be a means to, again, show disrespect or hurt the dignity, self-respect of any transgender person. But there should be something. What is that something? I do not know. I'm sure the parliament did not know when it made this law because they did not consult, or probably they did not take the feedback of people who are actually affected by it. Would Sana be comfortable to do that? Did they check with her before doing something like this? They should have. Did they? I don't know. This is where the problem comes. The society can demand and expect reasonable restrictions, But those restrictions should not be placed by the society. They should be placed by the stakeholders themselves directly involved in it, who are the affected persons. Because then, if they themselves place the restrictions, they will abide by it. They won't be abiding by what society puts as a restriction, because there'll always be a challenge to it. Whatever restriction they put should give reasonable classification. You study about all this, right? Reasonable classification, reasonable differentiation. It should be there. All of that should be classified properly. The law only then can become effective. Otherwise, it will just remain like this on paper.
So we're giving them a lot of food for thought.
Just to add to what Sir said, and a question to you and you as well, ma'am. Basically, when Sir said that the idea is to prove, and Sana ma'am said, why do you need to prove? The question is, there's always a possibility of misusing a person's identity, the gender identity, and misuse, and then also acquire the fruits of such whatever the benefits are. Now, in this regard, I would like to illustrate one particular incident that happened in the US. There was a male athlete in the US Olympics team who was good, but not exceptionally good. What happened was, all of a sudden, he decided to identify himself as a woman. And I don't know what happened, and he started competing with the women's team, and he started excelling there as a transgender. Now, regarding this, is it unfair to women when a man suddenly decides to identify himself as a woman? I mean, this is something that I think you would be in a better position to answer.
See, actually, there is no proper study, and there is anatomically study is not been done anyway. People assume that transgenders, man and women, they have manpower, they have no women power. So that is a kind of assumption. Basically, we are very feminine. Physically also we are feminine, mentally also we are feminine. People say that you can even compete with man, you can even compete with women. So they say that if you compete with a woman, you have a masculine power, you can compete easily and you can overtake that power. So I think there is no proper articulations and there is no proper study which need to be done. But when it comes to personally, if you ask me as a community opinion, I think why we need to prove ourselves. First of all, why we need to say that I am a transgender? Because I claim myself what I am. So I have all of freedom, I have all of my rights to tell that this is my identity. Even tomorrow if you come and say I am a transgender, we will accept you. Because we respect your opinion, we respect your identity. So that is what we are coming from. And also, I think there is a lot of misconceptions within the society, and externally people have a lot of misconceptions. I think we should really bring kind of a resources for that. People should start thinking that, because when it comes to medical field also, there is a certain medicines which suits for us, with certain medicine which will not suit us, which will react as. So there are so many things which challenges medically we have. So we need to bring certain sort of researchers, and we need to bring that kind of research, and we need to tell that what exactly our feeling is. And also when it comes to this, I think when I claim myself as a woman, why can't I compete with women itself? Because at last we claim as one gender only. Like either we will be a trans man or we will be a trans woman. So we want to identify as a woman or a man. So we need to be given that option as well. We need to have a self-identifications of to choosing what gender you want to be. I think I have answered her.
I think so. We're immediately running out of time. Just one last comment to everyone as a wrap up for this. When doctors take the hypocritical oath, they do it to serve the society. I'm sure each one of us as lawyers here, or as academics or activists, our aim in our professional dream is to serve, right? and to use your skills to help better. So can we look at law as an instrument to not add and further discriminate, but rather to create a system or an ecosystem or a society which empowers and gives more rights? And if we just keep that in mind, I think so we'll have answered all the questions. Thank you. Yeah, I'm being told that we have time to ask you all if you all have any questions.
Good morning, esteemed panel guests here. My name is Riya and I'm from Pioneer LLB program. My question, so basically when I joined LLB, there were a few things that, those were my questions, especially when we started to read the basic statutes like IPC. Everywhere it says, he who does so, or he should be abstained from, and that was my basic question when I asked my faculties. They were like, you're supposed to consider it as a common thing for all the persons. So is that also a problem, or is there a real jurisprudence involved in it? I understand it's very old, 1860, but why has nobody bothered to keep a check on it till today?
Well, we hope. I've heard from the Honorable Home Minister that the CRPC and IPC is going to undergo a change. So let's see if anything of this is addressed.
In this constitution, only a man only made it. all this law and everything is majority vote. You only tell who. So men only. So in their perspective, in their context, it's been argued. So tomorrow you change.
So in political science, we don't use the word man, we say person. Always, right?
Yeah.
So we don't say chairman or chairwoman, we say chairperson. So it's the language that it's us, it's up to us what we started yesterday.
And as generally you would have seen in any contract, it's a standard clause. Wherever the word he is mentioned, it also includes she, it, they, them, everything. All pronouns.
And you see nowadays in the West, everybody writes their pronouns. What pronoun are you using? That is also a way of enforcing your gender identity.
So also a greater problem that I have seen is that we have transgender prison officers, but why? And we have female officers. Why don't we have transgender female officers as well?
That is what I am also fighting for. Why only we should make candles and agarbattis? We should also be officers. We should be also lawmakers. We should be also policy makers. So that's what we are struggling and we are fighting. See, there is a competition for women now. Women itself, we have how many percentage of reservation? 40%. Still, we are not completing that percentage of that. Now we are behind of you.
Sana, if I may just stop, we have 30% reservation for
women.
women.
30%.
And you saw how in Madhya Pradesh, or which state was it, that the men came on the stage to take the oaths on behalf of their women, right? So most of the quotas still are empty, right? And the men are doing like your Lalu Prasad Yadav and your Rabri Yadav, all of that keeps happening, right? That is the reality on the ground, despite quotas. We have to see the reality.
To answer one more point, one more aspect to your question, why we don't have more trans persons in higher positions, right? Do we have enough qualified trans persons available today? That is the so if you read the Transgender Act, Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act, Section 3, you will see the anti-discrimination points mentioned in that. It starts from the first step is education. Right from the time you start in school, there should be no discrimination. Right? You should be given opportunities to enter into a classroom as who you are, even if you are biologically you are in between. If I, for the lack of a better word, you should be given equal opportunities to study and grow from them. Today, I'm surprised when I see this that some transgender children are separated from their families, kept in different homes, not with their own loving family, but with some place else because they are ostracized. So when they are ostracized, then they are supposed to be with some community of, again, supportive transgender community. They do not get the opportunity to study, become mainstream, get into the same common school system. They don't have the opportunity to sit among you and study. So when they don't have the opportunity to study, as Sana rightly said, you are reserving higher education, 1% to us. We don't have SSLC degrees.
Sir, I have a pause here, sir. I have a petition in Karnataka High Court on my KAS exam result. So I have done my KAS exam. So I really want to say that there are enough of qualified people out there. They are hidden. They are not coming out. So how do you strategize that people to come out? How much of enabling environment you people create for them to come out? So there are so much of multi-talented people are there. Among them, I am also one. But how much of exposures I have? So you travel to US, but I didn't travel to US. But that exposure, how we like it? That opportunity, how we like it? So I need those opportunities. I have written my KS exam, but I am still not, KPSC has not disclosed my result because I don't have reservation quota. The reservation of employment came recently in 2021 in Karnataka for the 2% reservation. I wrote my exam in 2019. But my result is not disclosed, so I have filed a petition in court. So there is so much of challenge still happening, sir. I think there are so many people are there. I think how do we explore them? How do we give an opportunity to them? This is what it happens every time. You people not fit for, you don't have enough qualified, you don't have educations, you don't have this. Please stop using such things and please give us an opportunities. Let me fight for that practicality. We will talk that. We will start working on them. You don't see, let people can come. I think if we come, I think we will be a competitor for men or what.
Respected panelists. Over the few years, I've come across a few transgenders. It doesn't mean that I just encountered them like for a while. I've spent some quality time with them, talking with them. And from their perspective, what I've come to know is that they wanted to add themselves to women. Like, they don't want to consider themselves as transgenders. They want to consider themselves as women. What I believe is, in my perspective, like every gender has its own purity and beauty. Yeah. Every gender has its own purity and beauty. Yeah. Why can't a transgender, a trans woman or a trans man accept their gender as a separate one instead of instead of
Third gender,
Instead of identifying themselves
as their own separate gender, yeah.
Okay. You accept as a third gender from tomorrow onwards. Will you?
I'm not. There's no.
How
I'm not third gender. As an individual gender.
What is your gender?
I'm a male actually.
I am a female. What's bothering you?
Nothing's bothering me.
Accept as no.
Yeah.
That is what. Sir, he wants to claim as transgender, accept. Why you want to compete with that? Why do you want to discuss about that? It's his identity, it's my identity, it's her identity. Tomorrow I will force on you. Please claim transgender.
Yes, ma'am.
How sense you say when you're forcing me to claim third gender, accept not so third gender. I am saying you accept as a second gender female.
Yes, ma'am.
Please don't judge on base of that. It's all individual's identity. I think you have to go through a sexuality, gender session. I think that session will really help you out to come out this kind of questions. I think people should organize that. I think sexuality has a diverse flexibility orientations. Today you can have a sex with a girl, tomorrow you can have a sex with a transgender, day after tomorrow you can have a sex with a man. So that doesn't mean your identity is being deferred. You are being saved. So I think you should really need to go such kind of sessions. It's something you have to learn lot of things. So please learn and come and ask.
Actually, I didn't mean anything like first gender, second gender, and third gender. I'm just saying an individual gender. I believe everything is equal.
Boss, we don't want. I don't want. Anything problem
Like,
for you?
Last question. I'm sorry we are out of time.
Respected panelists, I have a question regarding the recent thing the government is coming up with, like the army training which the cadets go through. So they are saying that from now onwards, the proposals are coming up like the female and the male cadets will have gender neutral training. So biologically, there are certain differences which we have to accept, that the males are more, they have the more caliber as to defense services and all. So why to put the nation's security at stake just to prove that we are gender neutral?
I'm sorry, what?
Like because...
Okay, I get your question. Can I answer? Thank you.
One more thing I would like to add, sending the women at front to fight. So ma'am, we all know about the concept of war criminals. So I think that the government should refrain from sending them at front, because if a female is abducted by the enemy, then we know that...
So much for your question, and I'm so glad it came from a woman in the audience. Okay? This is just the stereotype that gender studies we are trying to handle for decades. There is enough empirical evidence to prove that the physical capacity thing is a myth. It has taken us years and years for women to come into defense forces and for us to fight for this argument that it's the same. Women can also be fighter pilots, women can also be pilots. It's not that women are more emotional and feminine and so they will lose concentration and crash your plane, right? No, so why will you not? You want to go and defend, just like she has a right to go and become a soldier, he has a right to go and become a soldier and defend your country, right? He should not be deprived of it because he's a man. She should not be deprived of it because she's a woman. So when the army is now going to take in recruits, it's a really progressive point that we have come to, that we are saying gender neutral training.
I think for a long back they have been struggling.
We have been asking for this. The gender studies, women's studies movement has been asking for this for years. And we have finally been able to break these small barriers. So my dear, when you ask a question like that, you actually take all of us in the room decades back. Okay? So hold your, you have a valid point. You have a very valid point. Think with it yourself. Okay? Just war criminals all over when they are abducted and they're taken, statistics all over the world, it's not women and girls. Only girls don't get raped. Male rape is a weapon of war in Africa. Alright? Men also are picked up by marauding armies and are raped and sodomized, and it's a UN recognized war tool. So it's not about women only. It's our mindset here where we think कि लड़की को सामने दिया तो उसने adapt कर लिया तो problem है. Why is your female honor such a big thing? Right? Our problem lies there. So just ask yourself. It's okay, your question is very valid, but please ask yourself once more. Reflect on your own, okay? My humble plea to you.
It is this question again, as Dr. Mathur rightly pointed out. It shows that patriarchal mindset is deep-rooted in women more than men. Right? Again, with all due respect to your feelings as a woman, you don't want to go to war, don't join the army. If you want to go to war, be ready to be raped, be ready to be killed, be ready to kill. Right? If you're flimsy about that, there are a lot of other professions. And gender neutral training by our government today, I would say hats off. That's how it should be, because women are no less stronger than men. If they can deal with labor pain, they can deal with any shit in the world. Right? So women are stronger. They are usually, we refer to them as the fairer sex. Of course they are fair, but they are not the weaker sex. Right? That I will definitely challenge that part. So gender neutral training is extremely good for all of us in every which way. That's what I was saying. Break the line, make a single line. Everyone gets the same treatment, then true development happens.
So, and I also believe we can never be the weaker sex because men come out from us.
Absolutely.